Happy Spiritual Sunday to you all. And I hope you had an amazing week. And what we'll learn today, what wisdom will reveal, how we'll touch our heart and soul and awaken new energy inside of us, will make this next week even better. So, while people are populating, let's read something from Karen. Just again, quick consciousness, simple light. It is available on Amazon.com or at the Kabbalah.com. So Karen writes like this, and especially, with what's going on in the world, we see so much divisiveness and so much separation. So opening up this morning and finding this paragraph, obviously very synchronistic. Karen says very simple. In the presence of the light, everyone is equal. Separation does not exist. There is no differentiation between Muslim, Christians, Jews, and any other faith. When we talk of the light, we are talking about a unity that bypasses all differences. There are 4 known blood types, but no type contains a racial or religious code. Each of us contains only a universal blood code. Each of us contains only a universal blood code. In this way, we are united as one. And so, as we often talk about, we've got to remember that what we're learning here is just the universal laws of the soul. And there is only one soul. There was one being came into this world, and then it split into Adam and Eve, and on and on and on, till, as Karen was saying, we have all the different races, colors, religions, languages, backgrounds, colors of the skin, whatever else you want to say, economically, socially, culturally, etc. All the differences come about only by divisiveness. We started in the physical world, heaven on earth, Garden of Eden, as one. Then we got split into 2, Adam and Eve, that contained still only that one soul, just because of the physical world appeared to be divided into 2 bodies. But on the 99%, if you will, the 6th sense beyond our 5 senses of illusion, there was still only one soul, and to this day, there is only one soul. Yes, the illusion is stronger today because that one soul appears to be divided or separated into 8.5 billion bodies. But you and I learn in Kabbalah, we learn from the Zohar, we learn from the master Kabbalist of the Rav Branwein, his teacher, Rav Ashlag, his teacher, all the way back to Rabbi Shimon, the author of the Zohar, and all the way back to Moses on Mount Sinai. We learn that there is only one soul. And the point of this wisdom and the point of the center is just to help people remove the blockages, the spiritual, if you will, spacers that have created separation, and in that separation can exist the darkness of anger, jealousy, hatred, violence, on and on, all the negativity. So let's do as we do every spiritual Sunday. Let's do our affirmation. And again, for those of you who are new or newer, the point of the affirmation is to keep impressing in our consciousness the truth that there is oneness, the truth, as the first few words, consciousness is everything, and then the commitment to elevate the revelation, the expression of our soul's power. So let's say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. And on that note, the topic of today is kindness. And so we all talk about, even as we just said, we want to have greater kindness. But sometimes we've misunderstood kindness. I don't think any of you watching, or probably 90 some odd percent of the people around the world, are generally kind people. Generally kind. But as we've all learned, the point of Kabbalah is giving us the very detailed and ultimate truest, if you will, the truest understanding of things, of ourselves, of the world around us, the technology of the soul. And so today, kindness. Kindness, what's the true power? So interestingly enough, some of you who've learned in the center for a while may have heard this before. But if you look in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 4, but you have to see in the original Hebrew. It uses the word, it says the heavens were created. The word in the Bible is behi baram, were created. The Kabbalists teach us, though, that and it's interesting because if you look in the original script, the hey, behi baram, the letter hey is reduced. It's written small. Those of you unfamiliar, in the scrolls of the 5 books of Moses, the handwritten, it's very precise the way it must be written to channel energy. Like we always do at the end, we do a meditation on one of the 72 names. And of course we will and have explained the Hebrew letters are primordial. They come out of the endless world and take on physical form. They're a unique frequency of the light of the Creator. They take on the form that we have called Hebrew or Aramaic letters. In a similar way as our soul, that one soul, the vessel of the endless world, came out of the physical or the spiritual world into this world and took on physicality, a body. And so the Hebrew letters are the body of a unique frequency of the light of the Creator. So that hey is written small. And so the Kabbalists tell us, don't read it just behi baram, but read it be Avraham, that the universe was created by means of or through Abraham the patriarch. Now, let's understand that. It doesn't mean Abraham created it, but it's telling us the essence of this universe, of this world, of our purpose here is to be like Abraham. And that's the lesson that you and I learn from all aspects of the 5 books of Moses. Not just stories about particular people or events, but the Zohar unlocks the code of those literally written 5 books of Moses, as we'll talk about today with Abraham, but unlocks the code so that you and I can understand how to live the spiritual laws of the universe for our betterment, to achieve the goal that we came here for, how it's going to improve our lives today versus the stories of thousands of years ago. So, let's start with one of the first things we learn in Kabbalah 1, in the Kabbalah Center, that the only reason we left the endless world, the only reason we left eternal perfection, because we were unable to do acts of kindness. We were unable to share the light that the Creator had given us in the endless world. The only reason we came here was then just to share the light. Abraham, Kabbalistically, is known as the pillar of kindness or the pillar of mercy. That he was the conduit, or what's called the chariot, to bring the energy of chesed, kindness or mercy, into this world. And we learn from him, even though he lived thousands or 1,000 years before the event of Mount Sinai, where we needed to have, fortunately it was done, but unfortunately we needed it, where the laws of the universe were revealed to all mankind. Some of you who know the basic story, okay, on Mount Sinai, the 10 utterances, it's truly defined as or translated as, but people know them as the Ten Commandments. But the entire 5 books of Moses was written at that point, was put down in writing, and the Zohar, the Kabbalah, was given orally to Moses. We often just use the example like when a baby is born. We know there's a soul inside the body, but the birth of the baby brings both together, body and soul. And so on Mount Sinai, the Israelites, all 12 tribes of Israelites, were conduits to bring the light and understanding of the universal laws of the soul, as we call it, technology of the soul, was transmitted to every human being on earth. So don't fall to the illusion that it was just the Israelites who were given these 10 commandments and these laws of the universe. No, but it says very clearly in Kabbalistic writings, even hinted at in the 5 books of Moses, that Moses translated these 5 books into the 70 known languages of the time, so that all people would have an understanding of this wisdom, of this technology, and thereby have the opportunity, again, free will, to use the laws of the universe to achieve their mission, to remove the blockages from their soul that had been accumulated up to that point, and unfortunately more so up to this point, that block the light of one's soul from shining out into the world and manifesting their blessings, clarity, guidance, support of how to live the true life of the light and manifest their piece of heaven on earth, their piece of the Garden of Eden. So Abraham, even though he was well before this event of Mount Sinai, the Kabbalists teach us he already lived completely and entirely by the laws of the universe. How did he do it? Because he was able, on his level, and it's something we can also use on our level, he was able to perceive through nature, the way nature works, all the laws of the universe. Because as we keep in mind, the spiritual laws manifest in the physical laws of the universe, the spiritual energies and goings on, processes, if you will, manifest in the physical world also as physical processes. The way the sun and the moon and the planets move and rotate, the way the earth rotates on its axis, all these various things we call nature or physics are this physical manifestation of spiritual laws. So as we can remove the blockages and therefore see past our 5 senses, then we are able to understand and relate with and make greater use of the laws of the universe, the laws of our soul. Simple terms, spirituality. What does that mean? It doesn't mean being a good person. What it really means is using your spirit in a higher and higher way. Spirituality would be the means, the understanding, the teachings about the power and the technology and the processes and the systems of the soul, of the spirit. So Abraham, for a relative, we'll take the one piece of Abraham, he understood that kindness was the ultimate law of this universe, to be kind. And so they teach us that Abraham, even if you look again at the simple story, Abraham ran after opportunities to share. It says even when God, and remember it's coded, when God told him, leave your homeland, leave your house, leave your country, etc., meaning, if you remember the story, his father was a great idol worshiper, and the fact that Abraham was this pillar of kindness and mercy, he knew that idol worship was wrong. He knew that idol worship was negative and caused people pain and suffering and death. So his soul, as it's written, the voice of the Creator, spoke to him and said, no, leave that, go out. And he and his wife, Sarah, they went around the path that the Creator showed them just to inspire people that they met, people that they encountered, to understand how to see past the five senses, how to understand that there is only one universal system. When we talk about monotheism, it didn't mean that there weren't various powers. You and I understand today scientifically. There's a unique power to the sun, physiologically, physically. There's a unique power to the moon. All the stars, the planets, the plants, the animals, whatever, they have unique powers. So it's not that they don't have a unique piece, so to speak, or a frequency of the Creator's energy that people understood, but eventually that understanding became idol worship, that they fragmented. Oh, the power of the sun is unique and different from the power of the moon and the planets, whatever. Abraham understood it's all one, what today we might call the quantum idea, that everything is one. Yes, there's unique power, like in our body. I am one being, but I have various body parts, and they all have their unique energies, but to keep a person healthy and vital, they all have to work together. They're all working on one united system. And so that is what Abraham came to understand, that we call monotheism. There was only one God. Yes, there's only one God, one ultimate power we call the light, that empowers and gives strength to everything on earth, to everything in the universe. So Abraham understood that, and he ran to find ways to be more kind, to do acts of kindness. Even the story goes, when he was, if you read the Bible, God told him to circumcise himself, and as the Kabbalists teach us, in the third day of his circumcision, when he's the most painful. But his very nature was to bring in the, people who were travelers. So anybody who went by his house, anybody who went anywhere in his environment, he would run to invite them in, feed them, clothe them, let them wash their hands and feet, whatever, from the dust of their travels, etc. And the lesson we learn here is even he was in pain, and the Creator, again metaphorically, wanted to give Abraham some rest from running after people because of the pain of this circumcision he went through. Abraham was, as we'd say, he was down because the Creator made it so hot that nobody would travel, and therefore nobody would come by Abraham where he'd get up and go help them so he could rest. He was down. He was dejected that he couldn't go and help people. So the Creator sent 3 angels, and I don't want to go through the whole story, but basically Abraham was happy he had people to share with, and he ran to share, to feed them, to let them wash, etc., etc. He ran. So you and I have to understand then that kindness is not just, okay, be kind. It's running after the opportunity to share more of our soul's light. It's running after the opportunity to do greater acts of kindness. As we affirm, greater love, kindness, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings, meaning every person we see, every person we encounter, we are being given the opportunity to be kinder, to do an act of kindness and reveal more of our soul's light, which gives us more blessing, which attracts to us more blessings of the light. Like attracts like. So we can do those acts of kindness, but it has to be in our mind, has to be in our consciousness, which is what I want to awaken in us today. And that's why they'll say, okay, what's a good person? A good person is somebody who, of course, if somebody asks them for something, for some help or whatever, they will do an act of kindness. What you and I are striving to be, learning and growing and evolving into being, is like Abraham. To be the person who runs after the opportunity to do an act of kindness. Run after it. Don't wait for it to come to you. You run to it. That's the truly spiritual person. So think about, in your life, ways and means. How can you run to be kind? What opportunities, whether it's at work, the street, in your family, when you go shopping, when you're out at a social event, what greater acts of kindness can you run after in all the areas of your life, in all the situations and circumstances of your life? At least begin right now to put that in your consciousness. I want to be, I'm committing myself to be a person like Abraham, the patriarch, to run after greater opportunities to do acts of kindness. Run. Because kindness, as now you're understanding on a more powerful, deeper level, is the ultimate alignment with the Creator, with the light force. The Creator, as we teach from Kabbalah 1 forward, as the great Kabbalists have taught us for thousands of years, as the Zohar explains, the Creator wants and does to bestow its goodness, its beneficence on all of its creations. And therefore, from our point of view, the light of the Creator, which is the energy and the source of the light of lasting fulfillment, the energy of eternal bliss, shines on us 24/7. And therefore, our acts of kindness are ways and means that we can shine more of our soul's light onto other people. And thereby, like attracts like, be in the affinity, be in similarity of form, be in alignment with the light of the Creator, and therefore experience higher, greater blessings of lasting fulfillment in our life. In fact, the Kabbalists teach us, again, through the code of the 5 books of Moses, that in essence, in the beginning and the end, God showed, metaphorically, acts of kindness. When you and me, as Adam and Eve, were leaving the Garden of Eden because of our free will use of choice, and therefore chose, unfortunately, the tree of knowledge, disconnected from the tree of life, and therefore pushed ourselves out of the Garden of Eden. But as it says, as we left, the Creator made clothes to clothe us. The last, which is an act of kindness, because metaphorically we were naked and therefore had to be clothed. The last section of the 5 books of Moses, God's act of kindness, and again metaphorically, was to bury Moses in a place that nobody would know to this day, so that people would not idolize Moses instead of the Creator, but that act of kindness of burying Moses. And so again, remembering the law of cause and effect, like attracts like, what goes around comes around, the greater kindness we can perform, the greater acts of kindness, then the greater acts of kindness will come back to us, which means that as we do those greater acts, we are removing the blockages that have been covering our soul and disconnecting our soul from manifesting the eternal blessings that the Creator has already given us. By filling us with light, we remove that blockage, we let it shine out into the world, and therefore greater acts of kindness will come our way. And fundamentally, if it's not yet clear, an act of kindness is seeing a lack and shining light with actions of light to fill that lack. So it can be smiling at a person. You're walking down the street and you have a sense that the person walking in the street or somebody in the office, whatever it may be, is not in such a good mood. So, act of kindness. I'm going to go out of my way to smile at that person. And as you and I would add, in my smile or through my smile, I'm shining light, consciously taking light of my soul and beaming it out to that person's heart and soul. So not only on the external level am I smiling and awakening a greater sense of happiness in them, but I'm also reaching into their soul. Maybe it's about complimenting them. I had somebody, one of my students was just telling me that wherever he goes, he looks for ways to compliment people. Whatever, that's a great mustache, it looks good on you. Those clothes, whatever, you have such a radiant smile. Something to share an act of kindness from one being to another, from one human to another. It makes him feel better because he's sharing kindness. And if more light flowing through us, then we have to have automatically a greater sense of happiness and joy and peace and serenity and clarity and certainty that our life is getting better, we're on the path of the light and moving more quickly towards our 100% revelation of light and therefore experiencing greater eternal bliss, our peace of heaven on earth. This may be difficult because of what we see going on in the world, and unfortunately how many people, including you and me to some degree, are caught up in the chaos and the discord of the world today, because it is literally worldwide. Yet, as we will open our mind, our heart, to the teachings of the Zohar, which are the universal laws and technology of our soul, and the means, the directions, the recipe by which we can achieve our protection from all the chaos of the world, greater lasting fulfillment, and at the same time, because we are one soul, affecting that awakening in every human being on earth. The Kabbalists teach actions make the person. Good actions make a good person. What we'd call bad or reactive actions make a bad person. So a bad person, somebody who's allowed their habitual nature, external nature, human nature, to do bad actions, when that person wakes up one day and decides to do an action of kindness, so to speak, out of their nature, they become a more good person. They become automatically a more kind person. Kindness, mercy being like the umbrella term, let's call it, when that reactive natured person pauses and does an act of forgiveness towards somebody they didn't like, had conflict with, animosity, resentments towards, but acted with forgiveness, automatically they've made themselves a more forgiving person because they've shared more forgiveness. Light shines out, they become a gooder person, even though they had been bad. Unfortunately, on the other side, it's the same thing. Good people people who generally are of good nature, if they do a reactive behavior, an act of hurt, anger, resentment, greed, jealousy, judgment, they become a bad person because they've made their nature more resentful than it was yesterday, more angry than it was yesterday, more judgmental, greedy, self-centered, insensitive, insecure, etc. Our actions make who we are. And therefore, the more acts of kindness, as we're learning today, to be like Abraham, run after your opportunities to be more kind. One of the other ways Abraham did it, one of the tools he used, if you will, was to awaken in a new level, in his case, what we'll call a good eye. If you remember again, in the code of the Bible, there's this story. God told Abraham he was going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah because they did terrible things. And in fact, if you read in the Zohar in a few places, in the section called Vayera, it says, what was the ultimate destructive or negative thing that caused the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah? It says very simply, they didn't give charity. The spiritual essence of charity is the energy of helping the poor. They didn't care about the poor. Now, poor doesn't mean no money. Don't take it only on that literal level. What the Kabbalists teach us is a rich person who's more like an Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, people like that, they are more connected to the light. They are rich in light, the revelation of light, the use of light, the sharing of light. The poor people are the ones more disconnected from the light. Doesn't mean they don't have light inside of us. Every human being on earth has light totally filling our soul, their soul. They're not revealing it. And therefore they are poor in the manifestation of the lasting blessings of the light. And so the story and what we want to learn is, how can we be more charitable? Yes, it also means donating. In my case, in the case of the center, I believe the most powerful charity we can do is giving to spread this wisdom, and most ultimately spreading the Zohar, the instrument that is removing and will ultimately remove all pain, suffering, and death from the world mercifully. As it says in the Zohar, you spread the light, which is what the Zohar is, takes away the darkness. Everybody sees the truth. Everybody sees everything they've done clearly, the cause and effect, and they will immediately begin changing their behavior. So in that story, when God tells Abraham he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, so Abraham wants to wake up what we'll call a good eye, to be able to see even more clearly, more through the illusion, to see the light in the souls of all people. So even though Abraham, he understood that people in Sodom and Gomorrah were doing extremely negative acts, but he still, for himself, wanted to awaken what's called the good eye, to see the light through the negative actions they did, because he knew, as we learn, when he was able to see more light even in completely negative behaving people, not taking any of the light of their soul and shining it out, any extra piece, that means when he could see the light in them, then everywhere else he would look in life, or anywhere else he would look around the universe, he would see more clearly, more powerfully, and more connectedly the infinite light of the Creator. Infinite light means it's everywhere. When we see chaos and we see darkness and we see discord and we see randomness or we see chaos or confusion, it's because we don't see the light. It's not because the light isn't there. So Abraham, how did he express that? If you read the literal Bible, he argued with God. He said, God, you're going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. What if there are 50 righteous people? God says, okay, if there's 50, I won't destroy it. And then Abraham says, but okay, maybe there's not 50, but what if there's 40? And he kind of keeps bargaining with God that way until he says, what about 10? And then God says, okay, if there's 10, I won't destroy it. And the Kabbalists teach us ultimately that there weren't anybody. But the lesson most important for today in particular, Abraham grew his eyes, his good eye, to be able to see opportunities to run, to do acts of kindness. How can we? Ask your soul. Open your spiritual eyes. Open your physical eyes. As they teach us in the Zohar, open the eyes of your heart to be able to see the light in all people, even to see the light in all situations. To see the light that gives us an opportunity to run, to do greater acts of kindness. That's really what we want to do. In physical terms, when we're given a puzzle, the puzzle is jumbled up. It looks chaotic. Because we understand that there is a perfect system, whether it's a language or it's a jigsaw puzzle, so we know that there's a perfect picture, that this all the pieces will make, etc. So because we know there is a perfection, a state of perfection to those things, we can, if you will, disconnect from the five senses that sees things jumbled up, and we can start to look, even in a relatively physical way, look beyond the five senses by sort of going through in our consciousness the perfect system. In a jigsaw puzzle, so you'll look at the picture on the box, and then you'll start to take the chaotic pieces and put them in the order according to the picture of the box. In your mind's thinking, if it's a word that's been scrambled, you'll go through your mind words that have similar letters, the same letters, whatever, until you find the perfect word that when you rearrange the letters on the paper, it makes the perfect word, makes the correct word. So we will, even in physical terms, we make that effort to see through the illusion by opening up and expanding the vision of the eyes of our heart, by begging our soul to help us open the eyes of our heart to see the light everywhere, to see with a good eye. So instead of looking for what's wrong, we want to look how to make what's right out of what's wrong. We want to learn how to make order out of chaos, how to bring light out of darkness. This is what we learn Kabbalah 1 forward, and in essence is the whole purpose of what we learn in the Kabbalah Center, and in essence the purpose of the Kabbalah Center, teaching every human being on earth how to see through the illusion. Even though, I mean, how many of us have ever looked in the mirror and we take ourselves to task and we beat ourselves up in some way or another? Again, not that we shouldn't see the mistakes we make or the mistakes other people make. At the same time, for our greater good, for our benefit and moving in a path of the light, protected from more and more of the chaos, given more and more guidance and power to turn the chaos to order and the darkness to light and the curses to blessings. We want to continue to empower that by running, seeing opportunities to run after the ways we can act with greater kindness, do greater acts of sharing, It simply means looking at something that appears chaotic, or if you will, a dark situation or a place of darkness. And let's call it closing our physical eyes. And doesn't have to be if you're driving or walking or whatever, not physically, but to close your physical eyes, open up the eyes of your heart. Because the eyes of our heart are specific instruments, if you will, that can only perceive light. So we want to open the eyes of our heart to see more light in us, which will give us strength, guidance, and power to be able to, yes, take the parts where we're making mistakes, where we're throwing things, so to speak, into chaos and disarray, and be able to see and be empowered how to put them back into order. Whatever the appropriate thing, acts of forgiveness, acts of tolerance, acts of apology, acts of generosity, acts of gratitude, appreciation, whatever it may be. Revealing more of our light, bringing the removal of more darkness. The Kabbalists teach us darkness is finite. It may seem infinite, but the energy of darkness is finite. The only thing that is infinite is the light of the Creator. And so, as we're looking at this world, and people have been asking me, how do you operate in this world of chaos? What can we do? Because it seems to be getting more and more. Well, the more we hold in our consciousness that perfection already exists, that from the Creator's point of view, metaphorically, the Creator only sees perfection, because the Creator is perfection. Therefore, the more we will live from our perfection. Like we said, the only reason we left the endless world was to take the perfect light inside of us and shine it out 24/7 unconditionally, because only light will take away darkness. We have to keep reminding ourselves, only light takes away darkness. Only light takes away darkness. So just to share with you, I read a story that I want to share, because you look at the world, all the chaos in the world is what? Now you understand, disconnect from the light. There can be no chaos when we are channeling the light, thinking of the light, allowing ourselves to be enveloped in the light, opening the eyes of our heart to see the light. So I read this story, and again, synchronicity. I just read it yesterday. So apropos for today, because again, acts of kindness can be things that appear to be small. You just smile at somebody. You help somebody pick up something when they drop something. You never know how much in a person's mind, even that act of simply dropping something and having to bend down to pick it up, could, in their life, in that moment, could seem like us, in our level, like terrible, terrible things in the world. You just simply pick it up and hand it back to them. Could be huge from their point of view, yet from our point of view, it seems like something we would naturally do. In this case, we're learning to run after that. So whereas you might have walked by that person and not thought about it because it was so simple thing, they look capable, they look physically able to bend down and pick it up. They're not overwhelmed with too many things in their hand or whatever. So whereas we might have passed them, no, running to do acts of kindness, greater acts, you pick it up, takes you a few seconds, and you're on your way. So the story that I read, there was a veteran in recent times, unfortunately all the various theaters of fighting and war. So a veteran had come back from being out in the combat, still obviously remembering all the terrible things that he saw. So he's in the barber chair getting his hair cut, and he starts just like spilling his guts. He just wants to share all the terrible things, what he saw, etc., etc. And the barber just listened. Didn't judge, didn't try and get in there and excuse it or, whatever. Just let this man share what he experienced. And the story said that simple act of kindness, as the veteran, the man got up to leave, he handed an envelope to the barber. And the note in the envelope was a suicide note. So the simple act of just listening and letting this man pour out all the pent-up emotions of his experience saved his life. So imagine what a little more kindness from each of us, of every person on earth, 8.5 billion, new sparks of the light of kindness shining out in the world. And remembering, light is the only thing to take away the darkness of the hatred, the anger, the violence, the resentment, the hurt, the guilt, shame, hatred, whatever. When there's enough light shining in the whole world, that everybody will see the light. People will run for the light. Everyone will start running more and more to do acts of kindness, acts of mercy towards any and everybody else, remembering that I'm making myself, they're making themselves a kinder, more loving, merciful, God-like person. There'll be so much light when the world's cosmic energy, the environment, will be of greater kindness, pure light of kindness. Then the Creator will have been given permission by humanity, as it says in the prophets, to swallow up death, pain, and suffering, and the world will once again be heaven on earth. May it be in our time. God bless. So, yes, just to remind you, Zohar, this is the one I keep in my pocket, as you can see, a little worn, but still shining light. This is our time of our offering. And I know many of you are regular donors. So one, I want to thank you for that and appreciate it, the support that we're getting. This year, I just heard yesterday, we're over 750,000 Zohars have gone out this year versus the 100,000 in last year. Our goal is 2 million in this new year or more. Let's put it this way, at least 2 million. That can only be done with your support. So if you're watching this, it's because something touches your soul and it makes your life better. It also means that you come to understand that there's only one of us in the world, even though we look like 8.5 billion people, but there's only one soul. And everything that happens to everybody, whether we realize it or not, is affecting us and impacting us. And so the point of what we learn in the mission of the center is to get more and more people on board with this universal wisdom, that we will have a greater impact pushing our light through these greater acts of kindness and love and compassion and forgiveness, whatever. In this case, a greater act of generosity to push the light out to 8.5 billion hearts and souls and awaken them to not only understand, but be living on a higher level their godlike nature. That's really the essence of this. And so those of you who are regular givers, I can only encourage you, push yourself whatever extra you can give. And those of you who may have never sent in a donation to the center, open your heart today. To really feel the pain of everybody, including yourself, the real pain of your soul. Feel the pain of the people around the world who are scared at what's going on, who have fear, and basically some people trying to just separate themselves from the rest of the world, thinking that's protection. The people who are doing kind things, that, as we said today, spreading the Zohar, shining our light out into the world, help them do greater acts of kindness that are impacting, because they'll shift their consciousness by coming to learn this wisdom to a more quantum impact, a stronger, more lasting impact, and will reach the hearts and souls of the people who externally are doing bad things and awaken their heart. Awaken the light in their soul to realize the error of their ways and how their negative actions have impacted them and their loved ones, so that they'll also change. So let's take our moment, and let me put it here on the chat, so that those of you who now your heart is moving you to share and to support this mission. And remember, if you're supporting the worldwide mission of bringing the light of the Zohar to the world, then you are accessing and allowing sparks of light from 8.5 billion people to support you, because you are supporting them. So let's just close our eyes for the moment. See yourself sending in your gift, your donation, to empower people to come and learn in the center, and spreading the books of the Zohar worldwide. So we want to empower the money that you're giving, which is a vessel, right now, with love, with gratitude, with care. And as we've talked about today, with greater energy of kindness and mercy, that it goes out into the world through these projects to activate in every human being on earth, from this moment forward, greater acts of love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. And we appreciate the opportunity to learn this wisdom and strengthening our certainty, our absolute knowingness that as we put the Zohar, so we spread the Zohar out into the world and bring this light and removal of darkness on a quantum level, that it reflects back in our own lives, in our own environment, in our world, and brings us many, many blessings. Together we say, Amen. So to help us, I'd like to do a meditation on this particular name of God. For those of you who are newer, this is one of what's known as the 72 names of God. They're made up of the Hebrew Aramaic letters. As we always mention, the Hebrew letters, and we said it in the beginning of today's lesson particularly, the Hebrew letters, the Aramaic letters, are the manifestation of frequencies of energy, of the light of the Creator as it comes into the physical world. The light of the Creator is metaphysical, invisible. As it came into the physical world or comes into the physical world, it takes on physicality. So in this case, primordially, it took on these shapes called the Hebrew Aramaic alphabet, He, Resh, Yud, and each one is a unique frequency of energy. So in this case, He, Resh, Yud, this name of God activates within us, because we're full of the light of the Creator, the particular function, if you will, energy of long-range vision, which, as we mentioned today, means seeing through the illusion. Long-range vision doesn't just mean I can see for miles, but spiritually, I can see from beginning to end. Spiritually, He, Resh, Yud helps me already see in my mind's eye the effect and the result of the action I do. Even if it's a negative action, I will see before I do the action the consequence, and therefore transform that behavior from reactive to proactive. When I'm doing an act of greater kindness, an act of transformational sharing, I will be able to perceive the blessing that comes to me, know the blessing is coming with certainty, even if I don't see it immediately. That's true long-range vision. So just let these shapes and the name, He, Resh, Yud, let the shapes just be engraved in your mind's eye as we do this meditation. Okay? So if I can ask you to sit comfortably in your seat, feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap, taking a few deep breaths to relax, breathing in through the nose, hold the breath for a moment, exhale through your mouth. Allowing yourself to settle into the light of your soul, to set aside the five senses, whatever may have been going on in your mind that's not of the light. Allow yourself to relax into the light inside you and all around you. Breathing in the light of God through the air, holding the breath, allowing it to flow to every cell of your being physically and spiritually. And as you exhale, letting go of the tension, confusion, chaos, the aspects of darkness. Feeling the spiritual embrace of the light of the Creator. And the warmth, the feeling of love that it surrounds you with and fills you with. And so going back to breathing in your normal way, your normal pace, we envision together, He, Resh, Yud, just above your head, knowing or seeing there's a beam of light shining from the upper worlds through these energy forces, nano-robots of the light. Hey, Resh, Yud. You can see them shining, bright white light, vibration of unconditional love, and the particular power of long-range vision. Seeing the light everywhere in everyone. And we allow the Hey Resh Yud, beaming with this energy and this light, to enter through the top of your head. Shining light that removes darkness, removes limitation. Vibrating with the energy, the consciousness that's now increasing, intensifying inside you. Of love your neighbor. The commitment and actions of running after opportunities to be kind, to share kindness and mercy, share your light. Letting the light, Hey Resh Yud, flow through you from head to toe. Activating the light in every cell of your being, physically and spiritually. Empowering you, empowering us to see more clearly the light in us, the light in every person on earth, the light, the infinite light of heaven on earth that exists all around the world, that is only hidden from our sight by our limited vision. By the veils we have created through our reactive behavior, that now we are piercing through those veils with the vision, Hey Resh Yud, that has opened the eyes of our heart even more than it ever has, that we can see through the veils the light of the Creator, the infinite light. Awakening a greater motivation, enthusiasm to run after the light. To make a stronger connection with the light. And to expand the emanation of that light from our heart and soul out into the world. That it's touching the heart and soul of all our friends and family, surrounding them in a sphere of light. Hey Resh Yud, expanding that sphere. We can see more opportunities, more ways and means we can act with greater kindness and love and compassion. Expanding the sphere to all the people we may work with, people in our neighborhoods, people around us. Awakening in them, Hey Resh Yud, to do more acts of kindness, true kindness, surrounding them in the light. And now expanding that sphere of light to envelop the entire planet, all of the universe, activating Hey Re Shud in the heart and soul of all 8.5 billion pieces of us. 8.5 billion people on earth. That we all have a higher, stronger elevation of consciousness, greater clarity, that our only mission is greater acts of kindness, revealing our light, consciously shining that light into whatever darkness, chaos and confusion we may be in, we may perceive. Feel the light as it surrounds the entire world. See in your mind's eye all people acting with love and kindness, peace and unity towards all people. And that everyone has revealed through sharing all the light that the Creator has planted in their piece of the one soul. That together in unity, there is only light, only love, only peace in the world. Hey Resh Yud. Constantly empowering this vision, this transformation in us, this removing the veils and curtains that we've carried for millennium and lifetimes, removing those curtains and blockages that have limited our soul's expression, and allowing our soul's expression, the emanation of that light, to be unlimited to all people, to all of the earth, and out to the entire universe. Take note of the greater sense of peace and serenity that you feel. Acknowledge the greater clarity that has been awakened, that you will be manifesting, making use of as you move forward, and allowing that expression to grow with every greater act of kindness and love and compassion, and all the light-like actions we can do. Expressing our gratitude for this wisdom, for this experience. We lock it in to our heart and soul with one more deep breath. And as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes. Thank you for joining. Lots of love, light, and blessings. May we all find ourselves, and therefore activating in other people, greater running for the opportunities to be kind, to shine more of our light into the areas of darkness, chaos and confusion, pain and suffering. That we draw more people around us to do the same. And that we begin today leading the way to the end of all the pain, suffering, and death. And may that be with all of our work and bringing more people to the center, to this wisdom. May it be quickly in our time. God bless. Thank you for joining. Have an amazing week. And please share your comments with me. Share your questions here on Facebook. And please share this video. If it's impacted you, think out of 8.5 billion people, when you send it out into the cosmos through the internet, social media, think how many more people will be impacted, will find it, and the world will change faster. Have a great evening. Pleasant dreams for those of you who are in the Far East where it is very late. And have a great day, great afternoon. God bless. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, click the subscribe button so you'll be notified of future videos as we post them. Would also love to hear your comments and questions, whether it's about this video in particular or about the wisdom of Kabbalah as we teach it in the Kabbalah Center. If you'd like to learn more about various subjects, go to our website, www.kabbalah.com. We have thousands of articles and classes on various subjects within the wisdom of Kabbalah. Share this video with other people. If you were inspired and it can change your life, let's start changing thousands and thousands of people's lives around the world also. If you'd like to contribute in support of Spiritual Sunday and the projects of the Kabbalah Center, that link is also below. I wish you an amazing day, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be out there. And may God bless us all that we awaken the light of the Creator, not only inside us to a higher level, but touching the heart and soul of every human being on earth with the light of the Creator.